Well, hello there. Welcome to this broadcast of After the Kids Move In Radio 4. I'm your host, Pat O'Brien, along with this week's guest, Rosie Williams, and this week's co-host, Daniel Skelly. Well, now let me introduce our guest for the evening, Rosie Williams. Rosie, first and foremost, is a youth advocate for a variety of programs that include the Nobody Ages Out program, which you gotta believe, the Upfront program with the Fostering Change for Children, CASA, the Court-Appointed Special Advocates, and probably some other programs around New York State. Rosie is a trainer and speaker who has spoken nationally on topics and issues surrounding older child adoption and the foster care system. Rosie is in the process of being legally adopted by her family, whom she found when she was 20 years old after spending her entire life in the foster care system in New York City in more than 30 foster care placements, including foster homes, group homes, resident treatment centers, and hospitals. Rosie is a tireless advocate for youth in care and the rights for LGBTQ+ youth in the system. Rosie was one of the original group leaders with a Fostering Change for Children's program called Upfront. Upfront offered a brave space for LGBTQ youth who experienced foster care or disconnection from family. In addition, Rosie has also had a youth advocate and speaker with the Court-Appointed Special Advocates. And however, Rosie is here tonight to give practical and concrete advice to adoptive, foster, and kinship parents who might have had some struggles with the children they are raising at this point in their lives. So, Rosie, the bio I just read, is that a bit of an exaggeration? It says that you spent your entire life in the foster care system. Is that true?
Yes, that's very true. I was born into the system and I aged out at 21. So even though I found my family at 20, I was so institutionalized, I didn't understand what family was.
Treatment centers and hospitals and group homes. Are those the institutions that you're talking about?
Yeah. So when I say institutionalized, I spent my whole life in a system where everything was done for me. I could call my caseworker and say, I need a dentist appointment or I need a GYN or something like that. I didn't never have a person to sit there and teach me about living life, basically living on the outside. So when I aged out at 21, I didn't know how to pay rent. I didn't know how to, fill out applications by myself and things like that. So I needed help, basically living a normal life, what you call a normal life.
Now, how about in those foster homes? You lived in foster homes, right?
Yes.
How many foster homes would you say you have lived in?
Well, I say over 30 because after a while I stopped counting.
Well, foster care placements, but how about actually people's houses?
Yes, I say over 30 homes. And I say that because there was respite where I stayed for a day, I stayed for a week. Right. There were places where they would send me because they didn't have a home for me. Yeah. Right. And I would have to sit into a organization where they would do all the paperwork and call all the numbers. And I'll be there for a day or night and they would have to send me back to the agency or something like that. So I'll say over 30 foster homes because my behavior just got worse.
Wow. Yeah. Wow. You know, so basically, I just wanted the folks to get a little bit of your history, but we have a lot of parents that are listening, to this broadcast right now who don't fully understand why their children have like meltdowns and temper tantrums. We've had even some kids go as far as hit their parents. Yeah. These children are living what seems to be in safe homes, but they're nonetheless getting triggered because they often fear for their own safety and like their brains are always on high alert.
Yes.
Now, could you help explain to some of our families why some of the children sometimes do not feel all that safe in these seemingly very safe homes? And what can parents do about it?
I would say patience, consistency, and a lot of resources. These kids have a lot of fear, have a lot of trauma, and when you put them in a safe home, a lot of that trauma comes up. They have no way of hiding it anymore. It just comes out of them. So when they have temper tantrum, they basically acting out what they don't have the words for it, right? So if I say, I can't say that I'm mad, I can't say that I'm angry, but I could punch a hole in the wall, I could scream, I could yell, I could throw toys. So those are the reactions towards the feelings that they have.
Yeah. So you're saying sometimes just the mere fact that it's a safe place for them could trigger them because now they're feeling safe enough to act out their feelings.
So when I used to train parents, and it might sound a little crazy, but I tell them when a kid is cursing and yelling and screaming that they are comfortable with you because they're expressing themselves the way they know how to.
Yeah.
So it's either you sit there and you read between the lines, or you take it as you see it. And a lot of parents take the behavior and they put that as a label on a child, which it shouldn't happen, but it happens, right? Because we are human. But if you look past the behavior and you try to read between the words, read between the lines, that you will figure out the trauma and where it's coming from.
So when you say be patient, what do you say? What does patience look like?
I say self-care with patience, because a lot of kids will bring out trauma within the adults. I know a lot of times I probably got my mom a little sad or angry or something like that, but she never showed me. As a parent, she didn't show me that. She went to go take care of herself. She came back and then she explained to me in a way where I understood, right? So that's what I mean, patience, where you have to find yourself, center yourself so you can kind of explain and make that child understand certain things.
All right. Well, and when you say your mom, you're talking about the one that you got at age 20, or you're talking about some other mom?
Yeah, so I'm talking about my adoptive mom.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Who also happens to be a family advocate for the Agape program.
Yes.
And she is my co-host for this evening.
Yes.
That's Danielle Skelly. Hi, Danielle.
Hi, everybody.
All right. Now, let me ask you about foster care, foster parent experiences. Have you ever lived with what you might have considered a safe home, but it triggered you in some way where you really didn't feel all that safe there, from your own personal perspective? Because you had mentioned that you had behaviors, but you also acknowledge as well that sometimes trauma leads to certain behaviors. So do you have any personal examples of how how you might have been in a safe place, but you didn't feel safe?
Yeah, I've been in so many homes where I think I was so traumatized. I didn't see the love. I didn't understand the love. So I would be in a home where they wake me up for school and they ask me how my day was going or help me with my homework. And I guess I didn't understand it. I didn't know where it was coming from. It was more like, you're a crazy lady, right? I think that's what happened with my adoptive mom when she came up to me and she kind of was like, yeah, let's go here and let's go here. And this is your home now. Or like, don't ask me to get something to eat. You go in the refrigerator and you get yourself something to eat, right? It was abnormal. It was something that I wasn't used to.
So, all right. So you're talking about this adoptive mom.
Yeah.
So how was that? I mean, Danielle, in regard to, the things that you had to adjust to because she didn't feel even safe in your house.
Yeah, it's very hard when you don't realize that your house is unsafe for them, when you're doing everything, it's safe, you love them unconditionally, but they're still responding to you in a sometimes aggressive way, sometimes in a not nice way, sometimes in a way that they just don't understand your love. Yeah. So it sort of makes you want to go, well, I'm not going to keep doing this because I'm not getting the response I want.
Mm-hmm. What you mean? That's what the parent thinks.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, but that's what you're referring to as patience, because we have to have parents that stay patient through that.
Yes, and she never gave up on me. So even though I would leave the house for months, I would kind of come back and come with my own problems and my own trauma, and she would basically invite me in with open arms. Yeah. Like, you hungry? How was your day? It wasn't never, oh, I'm going to get on you. I'm going to yell at you. I'm going to scream at you. It was more like, eat something, drink something, sit down, relax for a while, and then we're going to have that conversation, right? And it's really a conversation. It's not an argument. It's not like, you're the parent and I'm the child. Yeah. It's literally two people sitting down having a conversation about life.
Now, a lot of our parents, especially when their kids are cursing at them or throwing things at them, take a lot of that personally. And I was just wondering if you had, some concrete advice about what people should do in that moment to understand better what's actually going on.
Right. So I made a workshop called Q-Tip.
Q-Tip.
Yes. Uh-huh. And Q-Tip means quit taking it personal.
Oh, good.
Right. So when that child is having a tantrum and they running and screaming and throwing things, that behavior is not about you. Uh-huh. Right. It's something that's inside of them their emotions is coming out, their trauma is coming out. And for you as a parent to sit there and kind of read, like I said in the beginning, read through the lines and kind of observe your child and then see what's the right combination to make that child a little better, right? If it's medicine or if it's just a little bit of love or a little bit of attention, try to give that child what you think that child needs. But always observe, because the first time is never going to work. So do it again and again and again. It's the consistency, right?
Yeah.
I show up multiple times and my mom is there with a smile on her face.
Right.
Like she's happy to see me.
Yeah. All right. Well, I mean, so that's, I mean, other than quitting taking it personally, it's also just never giving up.
Right.
And then you also mentioned you have to take care of yourself sometimes in the midst of all of this.
Yes.
Is there anything that you wanted to?
No, I mean, I think the quit taking it personal, the only way you can not take it personal is if you take care of yourself.
Yeah.
I think sometimes as parents, we get hung up on addressing the behavior in the immediate.
Yeah.
And in these circumstances, it doesn't matter, because the immediate consequence that we feel compelled to give is not fixing the behavior. So if you have to take a breath, you have to ground yourself, you have to have a cup of tea, if you have big kids, if you have to go for a walk, if you need to do something for yourself first, that's more important than addressing the behavior in the moment.
Right.
All right. So that's the key, is when your child's dysregulated and of course now you're upset, that's not the time to address the issue.
Exactly. And that's just counterintuitive to what we want to do as parents.
Right.
But if you can figure that out, it makes everything so much easier.
You don't have to react to every behavior, right? Allow that child to sit in their behavior and learn themselves. And if they can't learn themselves, then you explain it to them. You help them learn. I think with my little sister, she showed a lot of trauma and my mom showed a lot of patience. And when she didn't understand something, she would come. She was comfortable enough to ask my mom, hey, what is this and what is that? And I'm feeling this and I'm feeling that. And it might not have she might not said it that way, but she was comfortable enough to come to my mom and say something, right? Because she established that safe space with my little sister and her trauma. And now my little sister knows. She knows who mama is, right? She knows who her birth mom is, and she knows how to explain it to people. I think by seeing her grow up in this environment is amazing. Is astounding. Like I wish I was her at that age.
And the sister you're talking about is how old?
She's 6.
Wow. All right. Now, we're in the midst of the holiday season.
Yes.
And holiday season sometimes is very stressful on families and kids.
Yes.
Have you ever had that situation when you were in foster care for your entire life that, how did holidays feel for you? Tell me a little bit about that and how we can educate families on maybe what they should and shouldn't do.
For me, growing up in the system, holidays was the worst. I didn't really appreciate Christmas or Thanksgiving and things like that, because when you think of Thanksgiving, you think of family and dinner and things like that. So in a foster home, I don't feel a part of your family, so I won't sit down at the table and eat the food, right? At Christmas, I didn't get any gifts. I didn't get a thank you or anything. So I kind of felt outed, like I wasn't a part of anything. So holidays really suck for me. As I grew up, I started to know the truth that Santa wasn't real, right? But when I got into my adoptive home, I started to love it because I started to see what family really was. Yeah. Right? And how we sit around a tree early in the morning and we're opening up gifts and we're seeing the faces of our parents and how they looking at us, right? And the reactions of us opening up these gifts. Even when I see my little siblings and how they so into the holiday with the elves and the Christmas letters and things like that is something beautiful. It's something that I never had. So now as I grow older and I'm a little more mature, I kind of see the importance of family, the importance of holiday. But I think it's also with my mom where she goes by the dynamic of the house. Yeah. So if all of us is not okay that day, then we'll do something together as a family. We won't go and visit, grandma or grandpa, right? We'll do something with just mom and dad. So I think it's all depending on how the dynamic of the house is.
Well, that's interesting, Danielle. I mean, what she was basically talking about is you have a variety of kids, And is she, cause that might sound like to somebody, well, you're letting one of your kids dictate your whole family's, Christmas. But that's not what she's talking about.
No, because, the reality is if I force them to go somewhere, then I am letting them dictate my whole Christmas because it will ruin it, right?
Yeah.
Because they will show how they're not happy or how this isn't working for them by behavior, which will make everyone miserable. So if staying home in our pajamas and watching bad TV and eating takeout is going to keep everybody calm, then that'll be a good Christmas for everyone. So I think sort of respecting the needs of the people that I live with, including my children, allows me to enjoy the holidays. Whereas if I expect them to live to my expectations, it's a guaranteed fail.
So that's a big part of this whole holiday season is what the expectations are. Now you had mentioned that, to me, before the show began, that you're 27 years old and you moved in with this family at 20.
Yes.
So by the time you were 20, you've had really no experience with holidays at all. How long did it take you to get used to the fact that there's now tradition in your life?
I think it took me a while, and I didn't really notice how I was switching or how I was changing. But I think it did take me a while because at first it comes jealousy and it becomes resentment and it becomes, why did I never have this, right? And why is this lady out of nowhere that don't know me from a hole in the wall is doing these things for me, right? So I started to question myself and I started to question the things that was happening in my life. But like I said before, it's the consistency, right? So every year, it's the same for me.
Yeah.
We wake up in the morning, we open those gifts, we laugh and joke and we watch a little TV, we go to our grandma and grandpa's house and we just have fun. And I think that's what made me get into the aspect of holidays and Christmas and Thanksgiving and things like that because of the consistency of what we did, right? And the enjoyment of like, knowing your mom is happy and knowing your dad is happy and they love you, genuinely love you. I think that's what made me get into the holidays.
And I guess that gets back to the whole messaging, what you had said to start with about patience.
Yes.
You can only see that if we're patient over time.
Right.
That there's something really to be learned through tradition, which you can't learn the first holiday or even maybe the second holiday. But it takes a little time over time.
Right.
So I think the other important piece to it is that Rosie and the other kids know that if on that day, even though it's a joyous day and they love it, if they're not feeling it and they don't want to go to my mom's, that's an option. So there's no anxiety about, do I have to do this? What do I have to do? That we allow them the space to, sort of define what the holiday looks like for them.
Yeah, yeah. And that's, and is that as true for the younger children as is for the older children?
It has to be.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, it has to be. And it's not about like, I think sometimes, even in my own head, sometimes the question of control, like, am I allowing them to control the household? But the reality is if I didn't give them space, I would be letting them control the household because they would find a way through behavior to upend whatever my plan was.
And go ahead. No, you've done a lot of being educated on the issues working in this field.
Yeah.
What is have you learned anything about how the brain plays a role in any of this?
Yes, I think the brain is fascinating and the way it develops throughout your childhood and throughout your teenage years and your adult years is amazing. And then when you put trauma involved with it, it's crazy. I learned that you have the amygdala and the frontal lobe, and how that affects the way you think and the way you speak and the way you move, right? So I kind of learned about myself, learning about the brain.
Yeah. And you mentioned those two things, the frontal lobe and the amygdala, where we talk about the lower brain and the higher brain. Right. And the lower brain, you're sort of stuck on survival mode, and a lot of things are interpreted as unsafe. And then the thinking part of the brain, the frontal lobe, is where you can get back to reason and logic and stuff like that. Yeah. But it does take a long time sometimes for some kids to get there, because the earlier if you had trauma in your early life, which you must have,
right.
it's just very, very difficult.
Right. And I don't want people to think that trauma is not, you can't heal, right? From the trauma that was endured on you.
Uh-huh.
I healed, and I had a very good supportive system, and I might have had it when I got older.
Yeah.
But it's a very good supportive system. My mom is my role model. So I watch and I listen and I learn off of what she does and how she advocates for all of us, all her children. Makes me want to be a better person. It makes me want to be that type of mom, right? Like, I wish I could be half of the woman she is now. Like,
wow.
Right. So I feel like with some heal and some love and some guidance, that any child can heal from that trauma. And it might be a difficult path, but if you stay on that path, that child can prosper and grow and be whoever they want to be.
So it's really all about the commitment, and
right.
you've got to make the decision to commit, and then the patience follows, and then hopefully all the healing feelings also follow.
Right.
I see the expression on your face. It looked like you want to say something, or.
I can't take even half the credit for who Rosie is. That was there way before we came into the picture. But I think, I think kids need the room to heal. So, giving her the space to explore sort of her own feelings
and
in a loving
she's had some
environment.
remarkable resilience, and that's a topic for a different radio program, is how she was able to be that resilient.